WWE SummerSlam 2024, the review, ladies and gentlemen, where Roman Reigns returns to WWE, Judgment Day implodes, Dominic betrays Rhea Ripley and picks Liv Morgan, Finn Balor turning on Damian Priest, and we've got 4 brand new champions after SummerSlam as well. Gunther, the World Heavyweight Champion, L.A Knight, United States Champion, Bron Breakker, Intercontinental Champion, and Nia Jax, the Women's Champion. I'm joined by NX Steve. NX Steve, what are your overall thoughts of SummerSlam 2024?
Very much a show of two halves. We'll talk about that when we go through it. Very weird to see 4 titles change in one night other than WrestleMania. So again, I think this was the other reason why a lot of my predictions were kind of like skew-if, because again, wasn't expecting that many title changes. Thoroughly entertained from a story aspect. Very underwhelmed from a wrestling aspect, if I'm honest.
Yeah, do you know what? I think you make a lot of points there that are accurate, to be honest. I would agree that this is a story-driven show. If you love your storytelling, and hands up, I'm one of them, you're going to love this show. You know, there's some really good stuff with it, but wrestling-wise, I would argue there's no 5-star classics in this show. Like, it's all sort of like based around the narrative and what it could lead to going forward. But yeah, I mean, overall, I enjoyed it. I like me drama, as I say. This is a soap opera with a bit of wrestling in it. Some things happened sooner than I expected them to. We got the first comment from Sid, who said it was obvious that Dom was going to turn on Rhea and help Liv win. Absolutely, it certainly was. I just predicted that it would be an accident here, which I think was what happened at the start of that match, or was just before the real heel turn happened. It looked like it was meant to be an accident. That didn't work, so they did it for real in the end anyway. So it was kind of interesting to see how it all played out throughout the show. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to diving into it. We've got some still footages as well of the shows. For anyone that's missed it, you can see what we've got to put on the screen as well. But and it's just before we start, what's your favorite match of the show?
Oh, dude, it's hard not to go with either Punk versus Drew or with Gunther versus Priest, because for 2 completely different reasons. Like, Priest versus Gunther is just meat slapping meat, and it's awesome to watch. But the story that Punk and Drew told and Seth told, it was fantastic.
It was fantastic indeed. I'm going to leave a shout as well for L.A Knight and Logan Paul. I actually thought that match really over-delivered.
Yeah, actually,
it was a really good match on that one. But Kicking with Leo in the house as well with us says that the new Judgment Day have arrived. This is my favorite WWE show this year. Better than WrestleMania. Loving it, Leo. Really enjoyed this one. So let's dive in and get straight into it. Then obviously we had the start of the show, Triple H obviously welcoming everybody. We had Jelly Roll sing the theme song for SummerSlam. I believe it was Liar. I believe was the name of the song. Very good song. I'm into Jelly Roll now. I didn't know too much about him previously, but heard a couple of songs based off SummerSlam. I'm a fan now. I think I might have to go and see him in concert. But Miz as well doing his introduction as well in the audience. This is after a 3-hour pre-show. They still ended up on the main show. Are you surprised that it was there?
Yeah, I mean, we all kind of know why that pre-show was 3 hours long, but just in general, talk about the timing of the show. Like, Jonesy, I think, texted me yesterday before the show, and I think he showed me the original frame was that this was going to be a 5-hour pay-per-view, and I was like, 5 hours for 7 matches seems ridiculous, but it turned out being like 4 hours for 7 matches, which I thought, do you know what? I think that proves that every once in a while they can do it. And again, because it's SummerSlam, it kind of makes sense to add a couple of extra matches in. But like I said, we'll get to it when we talk about Bron and Sami. The fact that that match goes less than 10 minutes, I think is criminally insane for a 4-hour pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, something like 6 minutes or something like that. It's not a long match indeed, obviously, which is a bit of a shame to see. But however, we will dive in and straight into the deep end as well. One of the big talking points of this show, Liv Morgan retaining the Women's World Championship against Rhea Ripley. Just to go through some details of the match, then you can follow us on the screen as well. Obviously, you can see Dirty Dom is coming to the ring with Rhea Ripley. Of course, Liv Morgan, obviously the champion. This match started a bit cat and mouse. Obviously, Rhea was chasing Liv up until that moment there with the shoulder. You can see Rhea was actually in a lot of pain as well with the shoulder. We can see the clips there. We're just going to talk through the match anyway as we go through. But obviously, when Rhea hurt it, she had to pop her shoulder back in. There was a moment where Dominic sacrificed himself for Rhea Ripley until that moment, the steel chair shot we saw there. When that chair shot happened, he pretty much had told Rhea Ripley that if she was to use that chair, she couldn't win the championship. And of course, from that moment onwards, we saw Dom play a big part into the match. It looked like the Rhea Ripley was going to get the victory, but of course, Dominic slid the chair into the ring, obviously in the same way what he did with King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring, obviously when it was Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan. Obviously, at that point, Liv Morgan did get the advantage with it, but didn't prevail. And obviously, then was a second time that it was slid into the ring, and that point was when actually Liv Morgan did actually get the victory over Rhea Ripley. What were your thoughts with the opening match? Because obviously, at the end of it, we see that Liv and Dom actually left together because Dominic Mysterio actually showed his true colors, that them two weren't coots all along.
I thought my biggest actual gripe with this match, let's start off with the negative first, is that for the whole time that Rhea has a popped out shoulder, Liv gets she asserts no dominance in the match. And a lot of their matches are, Rhea dominates, Liv gets absolutely destroyed, end of. And they really, for me, just didn't play off in the fact that Liv had an opportunity to completely dominate this match, even if it was for like 2 minutes. Really put Rhea on the back foot and just really like try and emphasize the point that Rhea is actually meant to be the babyface in this match. Aside from that, I thought the match it got progressively better. Seems to be a theory with a couple of the matches tonight. The crucifix driver that Liv hits on Rhea is fantastic. Just honestly, one of the best crucifix drivers I've seen in a long time. The pop in the shoulder back in, I thought was great storytelling. Although she didn't really emphasize the point she's meant to have popped out a second time, which I think, again, was one of the negatives for me. But the fact that Dom almost cost Rhea the first time with logical reasoning, like I said, where he takes the chair, says that you can't win the title this way. I thought was just like such a good way. Like obviously we discussed in the preview that or the prediction, that you said that he was expecting Dom to cost Rhea on accident, and I thought, you know what? That's really great storytelling. And then for him to actually turn around and actually screw. And my notes here, I've got Dom, you rat bastard. But then my other takeaway was when they were backing down away from the ring, how much did Dom look like Eddie Guerrero in that moment? That lie, cheat, steal kind of look. And I was like, oh, this went a hell of a lot better than I think I expected it to go, because I think everyone predicted that Dom was going to turn on Rhea in this match, but just the way it happened, it's one of the few times where I've been genuinely satisfied with a predictable answer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll now get the talk of having to try and catch up with still images. That actually proves that it can have its difficulties quite early into the video. But what I would say is obviously there was that moment, like you say, where obviously Dom sacrificed himself for Rhea for a second, obviously taking the advantage for Liv to jump on top of him, clearly. But at the same time, when he did, like you said, the first time, try to help Rhea Ripley to it looked like it was perfectly planned, but still that accident, which was what we thought might happen to just delay the story a bit further. However, once that wasn't executed, it felt to the point then that actually Dom says, well, look, I've got to take matters into my own hands. This is the side I'm on. Rather than play, let's play mind games for another few weeks, let's commit to it. And obviously with that sort of action then taking place with the chair being in the ring at the same time, but obviously just betraying Rhea, I just think myself it was very well executed, like you said. And obviously Liv was very limited with some of the offense that she got in on Rhea when she had advantage, I would agree. But I mean, as well, I liked the fact that Rhea was selling the shoulder. The only thing I thought was a bit disappointing is not actually in this match itself, but for a lot of the other matches, there's a lot of shoulder problems throughout SummerSlam. I don't know if you noticed that with a number of matches, but I mean, I'm nitpicking with that. But all in all, I just thought this one felt proper soap opera start of the night. And what I really also liked about it was everyone's been teasing the idea of, well, what if Finn's in with Liv Morgan and stuff like that? They kept that completely separate because the fact is it was Dom that making the Dom action. He left ringside with Liv Morgan. Backstage, Damian Priest comes in. He's looking, saying, "Where's Dom?" Completely upset with the fact of what's happened to Rhea. it ends up with being words between Balor. Did you know anything about this? It's like, no, of course not. And it's like things were said to hurt Balor's feelings. The rest of the Judgment Day group and Carlito, he's not officially in yet. May change on Raw. Said they'd go and look for Dom. So it all played a thing of like everything was separate regarding what they were doing. And for me, I thought it was a nice little token to what's then play out later in the evening.
Yeah, dude, I totally agree. It was just great storytelling in general. I mean, a lot of people are obviously saying R.I.P. the Judgment Day. Who's to say that the Judgment Day is over? Who's just not to say that two members are getting kicked out and the faction's still going to keep going? I mean, dude, like, I've been saying to you for the last couple of weeks that I've been so invested with this Judgment Day story. And, like, having Punk and McIntyre is, like, the best rivalry. But this story just seems to get better every week. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, come on, man. Monday needs to come around now. I need to know the fallout from this. I need to know what's going to happen. Because obviously Priest and Rhea are massive baby faces now. And like, obviously JD and Carlito obviously haven't had an input in any of this. And it's kind of like, where are their alliances going to lie? And it's kind of like, I think, again, I said to you on the prediction show, Rhea has been digging her own grave, especially when it comes to Carlito recently. But she also did it to JD at the start when he first joined. So I'm telling you now, Monday's going to be super exciting to watch for this story.
We're really interested to see where it's going to go, obviously. And like we said about the idea of 2 out, it could just be simply 2 in. I mean, obviously, if Liv is taking everything away from Rhea, obviously, she's taken the championship. Now it's officially she's taken Dom. The only thing left is the group itself, and if she's kicked out of Judgment Day, and obviously the one that would have Rhea's back is Priest. If he's gone as well, you have a new lineup of, say, Liv, you have Finn, you've got JD, you've got Dom, you have Carlito in there as well, because Carlito's been sniffing around playing PS5 for the last 3 months, and that's cool. I think that's a sizable group, and we've discussed this previously as well, the fact that, we've seen the story evolve really for a long time here, because there's been friction, obviously, in amongst Judgment Day. Obviously, with Liv and Rhea, stuff's been going on for a very long time, but also with Finn and Damian. And Damian did say in one of his previous programs with Jey Uso that they were drinking together, like when they were both saying they were going to get to the next level. And then obviously Jey has said that he wants Rhea's number. Rhea's actually said on social media she has Jey's number. So that kind of ties into the idea that Jey could actually align with these in the meantime. And Sami as well. Those two, Jey and Sami, have actually beat the tag team champions. So there is a way you can have a sort of 4-on-4 bit of action, mixed tag team action going on. So I think there is a lot that can come out of this. And as Zayn has said here, we need to see Rhea versus Dominic, which, to be fair, that is a match that needs to be booked. I think Bad Blood is the perfect place for it. However, we do have Bash in Berlin beforehand, so it'd be interesting to see how WWE is going to book things in the meantime. But certainly could see this one being a perfect squash match somewhere down the line.
I would believe that they still can do it at Bad Blood. I believe Rhea will get her rematch first. I'm sure Rhea will somehow manage to swindle one at Bash in Berlin. Dom will inevitably cost her that title again. And then we'll hopefully get Rhea versus Dom at Bad Blood, because that'll be fantastic to see those two have some sort of wrestling match. However, WWE are going to portray that intergender match is going to be interesting to see, because every other time we've seen it, it's kind of like the women just beat the men up and the man stands there and takes it. So it's always going to be fun to see. But yeah, dude, I mean, I'm just sitting there trying to think. Again, I'm going back to Raw Monday, and I'm like, what can they do? And I'm sitting there thinking, do you know what? I'm being quite nostalgic. And let's get rid of the Judgment Day Clubhouse. Let's bring back a tour bus. Like, remember the old DX Express? Let's have the JD Express, the Judgment Day Express. And you know what I mean? At some point in the future, we can have Rhea or Priest drop a crane on it and make it blow up in the car park like the good old days.
Tell you what, this is such a fun. I'm actually watching that period actually on the vintage stuff right now. So it's kind of it's a fun time indeed. I'd love the idea of a Judgment Day bus. That would be pretty darn cool. But all in all, final thoughts of this match and star rating. I think we'll go for as well.
I'm probably a bit harsh on this, and I only went with the 3.5 because, like, aside from like. I mean, I had my gripes with a couple of the wrestling beats with it. And I think for story-wise, like, I initially put this down as 3.5. And I was like, what I'd have a tendency to do is go back and over the show and sort of adjust if I think it should have been better than another match or worse than another match or whatever. But I kind of sat 3.5 because I think that there's stuff on this show that is better and stuff on this show that is worse. So yeah, I sat at 3.5 for this one. Oh, sorry, the other thing we forgot to mention as well, the referees now have body cams as well. That's kind of cool yet weird as well, because we don't see it that much until Seth takes his part as special guest referee, and then something goes wrong and he ends up taking it off and throwing it out of the ring.
The thing is like it was a good point with that camera thing, but I noticed every time that they were doing it, they were filming obviously the other side of the arena or of the stadium, I should say, because it's not an arena, it's a stadium show. But obviously this wasn't a sold out capacity stadium, so you were seeing empty blocks every time the camera goes. And obviously WWE doesn't like that, so they kind of go, quick, get it off. And I think they just kind of went, we probably shouldn't do that then.
Funny enough, you say that. When Miz was introduced at the start and he's standing in the crowd, the cameraman's standing behind him and he shows out all the tarp sections on the top tier on like where the hard cam is. And I'm like, I know sometimes when the production side is up, they like to tarp, like when I was at Cardiff, that all the sections behind the hard cam were all tarped off. Like there was no one there in anyway, because you would have had restricted viewing. But these were like God seats, and there was people on sections below them. So I was like, that's definitely not the reason. And then you can see it in the production. So the cameraman shows from behind Miz. Someone must have said in his ear, move to the front. The cameraman moves back around to the front. And then by that point, it's like, oh, well, people are seeing that there's tarped off sections. Now just go back to the original position you was in. It was like, it doesn't bother me whether it sells out or not anyway. It's, do you know what I mean? AEW's done that before. WWE have done that before. It's just, I think they like to keep those things quiet just for the production value of it all.
Absolutely, it's production value. And the thing is, end of the day, that I've seen it in WWE shows, I've seen it in AEW shows. It doesn't matter to me either way. I prefer about the content in the ring, but certainly I think that could be the reason why I did with that. You said you were being harsh of 3.5. Actually, well, no, I was expecting you to say like 2 or something where you said you were going to be harsh. But for me, I'm like, I think 3.5 is a fair rating for the match personally. I don't think it blows the water of a 5-star match, but I think the storytelling, it drives it through quite well.
I think the story was like the story part beats were really good, and I think that's what essentially bumped the score up, if anything. Because I think if I'd have rated it lower if the story beat wasn't as good. So I think that's what I mean. Maybe I thought to myself I was just being overly critical, but yeah, the wrestling match wasn't. I said it was not the best wrestling match we've ever seen between Riv and Leah. Rhea and Liv, there we go. I'll get their names right in a second. But they still have good in-ring chemistry, and like it can always build to a rematch, and they can go on to have a better match. So, do you know what I mean? Fingers crossed for the future that they get another shot at this.
I'm sure they will get another match in the future. And of course, Rhea Ripley, the last time she lost was to Liv Morgan. So it seems to be a bit of a pattern at this particular moment. Let's go into the comments. Newman Coven House, hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us. Same with Pierre as well. Just give me a little bit of advice. Never trust the Latino heat in your life. Luckily, I don't have to worry about that problem. Some people, Zane said, some people call this the best SummerSlam of all time. Do you agree? No.
I don't think so for the pure... Well, I can't even say because of the match card. The match card is solid. I just think it's a very half and half. Like the second half of the show, I enjoyed a hell of a lot more than the first half. And I didn't really... I don't know, maybe it is for me the best SummerSlam. Like, obviously, I can't remember every SummerSlam. I'd have to go back and look at every card. But, like, I enjoyed the show from top to bottom. I maybe just was expecting more. Maybe I hyped myself up too much about it.
Top 10 for me. That's where I'd say that, like, the early feeling. You need these shows to digest for like a year or two before you can start saying like if it's the best of all time and all the rest of it. But
does the long-term payoff like help this SummerSlam become a more important SummerSlam than what it is?
Yeah, we covered 2002, which is my favorite SummerSlam of all time, and still remains my favorite SummerSlam of all time in our rewind this month. So, if I'm comparing it to that show, for me, 2002 was better. So, not the best SummerSlam of all time, but certainly, it's a very good show. I would say that point. For those who are watching, don't get it twisted. Still had a very fun time watching it. We've only one match in, so don't worry, good stuff still to come. Roger was also disappointed that actually didn't help when CM Punk win.
Give it time.
Give it time, I think. Yeah, Definitely give it time. Pierre says on Monday we're going to have the new birth of the new Judgment Day. Certainly agree with that. I do think Jameson will get with Rhea. Storyline terms, maybe, but I don't think it's needed.
Did you see Buddy Murphy's tweet, by the way?
Go for it.
He put out, TK, can I go and help Mummy quickly? And then I think, if I remember correctly, I think Kathy Kelly replied to it. I took a screenshot of it because I was just laughing. He put, TK, can I help Mummy real quick? Kathy Kelly replied, he said no. Yeah, dude, just great stuff.
Absolutely. Resting Shen in house. Hope you're doing well. Apparently, Cody said his dog, Farora. I can't say that name properly.
Pharaoh.
Thank you very much. We're not being WWE anymore. I did see that on the press conference. So yeah, that is.
He got a lot of stick in AEW for taking the dog out when there was pyro and stuff, and obviously you should keep your dogs away from that kind of stuff. So I can understand why.
I can understand why as well. Roger wasn't too happy. DIY lost the tag team titles on SmackDown. It made sense for the story though.
Yeah, but dude, it's not like DIY haven't had like ample opportunities before where they could have won them and had a decent reign. It's like their second title defense and they've lost. Like I get it for the story point, but like they've had like 4 attempts at winning those tag team titles, DIY, and then when they finally do it, it's on their second defense that they lose it.
They should have just won it early. I think that would have made fans a bit more pleased. That would have probably helped it because Waller and Fury had it quite a while. Apparently, Sid's got the same fan as you.
That thing. Oh, yeah, it's broke anyway.
And yes, I like the Jelly Roll song at SummerSlam. It's going to add to the new Spotify playlist I'm making. What about yourself, Nick Steve?
It's good, but I already have a Jelly because I have a Jelly Roll song that I already had from like months ago, but I prefer much better.
That's fair. Let's move on in the meantime then. Let's go to match 2, which sees a brand new champion, an Intercontinental Champion as well. Bron Breakker beating Sami Zayn. Thankfully, not too many steals here. We're not going to do too much to catch up on this one. We'll obviously see the two in ring here. Bron also crashes his shoulder into the post quite early doors, but we see a backwards and forwards. Like you said, only 6 minutes these matches between these two, but you can see the haluva kick attempt is countered with a spear, and Bron then, for good measure, does the big impressive speed run off the ropes, hit another spear, and win the IC title. It felt inevitable that Bron was going to win it this time around. I think the only disappointing fact for me is that this match is so short. Didn't really have time to tell the story, but certainly set the point home. And perhaps a dominant Bron win perhaps isn't the worst thing either, because Bron obviously has put away a former WrestleMania main eventer in the process as well.
Yes, but if he's going to win in a dominant faction, this should have been a squash match. Like he's been boasting how he'd improved over their last match. He should, like, to make this more emphatical and more of a point and more hard hitting, he should have squashed Bron. He should have squashed Sami. Like if he'd have hit his finisher straight off the bat, got him up, done another one-on-one, I think the shock factor would have been a lot more. And I think it would have emphasized this, and I probably would have rated this higher because for me, one, Bron should not be wearing patterned singlets. He should be wearing plain black. He's a heel at the minute, and the singlets just don't. Like I know, obviously the Steiners used to do it, but he's meant to be the heel on this. Singlets, the coloured leopard print singlets, not my thing. The second match, and it's a shoulder injury off the bat, and I'm kind of like 2 matches, 2 shoulder injuries. Never good. The match actually starts with, I don't know if you remember, that's how the first match should have ended. Sami should have leapt over. He should have hit the ring post. Sami should have won the match. So I was like, okay, fair enough. I'll take that beat from it. Bron goes for the top rope Frankenstein or Hurricanrana, sorry. He starts taunting. He almost costs him the move because he almost botches that slightly. It's very sloppy in places. The spear reversal is great, and obviously then hits a second one. But overall, for me, I thought this was very underwhelming. Like, aside from Priest and Gunther, I was expecting this to be like the best wrestling match of the night. And like you said, I think the fact it's like 6.5 minutes long, I just felt very underwhelmed.
Yeah, I was like, it's over already, was my feeling with this match. I agree with you. If they're going to do that, they should have done a squash match personally. But I, I, I just only preferred a bit more drama. Money in the Bank had the drama, and I thought was the better match. It's just funny because everyone criticised that
Absolutely.
match because of the result. Yet I don't see as much criticism with regards of this match because it's the right result. I think that's it's kind of funny how it works around. But this is obviously the match that suffered on the card, mainly due to time restraints, obviously with other stuff that's going on. But all in all, I don't think it's the best match. These two we have seen can do better. They'll probably get another chance to show it off as well at some point. But the messages hit home. Bron Breakker has won a major championship on a major show. And obviously he said himself, which is on the press conference as well, that this was a case of, am I going to be someone that's going to be in and around that main event in time to come, or am I just another guy on the card? Well, he's proven he's someone that will be a big deal on the roster, and I think a lot of people knew that was going to be his future. Obviously, the Steiners were in the celebrity wing as well, in the celeb box of WWE Legends as well. We saw later in the evening, so he got a chance to celebrate with them. Did you get a chance to see the press conference, by the way? Because Bron Breakker had a bit of an interview with Jackie Redmond, Big E, and co. He felt very babyface like on his interview. Obviously, he's put over Sami big time as well in that sort of press conference as well. So I kind of had the feeling that maybe this could be a change of the guard for Bron Breakker, that maybe it won't be so much of a monster heel moving forward because of the fact I think he's over a lot of people with the way that he does his stuff.
Do you know what? The one time I don't watch the press, I had to go out today to buy suits for my brother-in-law's wedding. So as soon as SummerSlam finished, I went to sleep. Otherwise, normally I'd have stayed up and watched the press conference and caught any tidbits, but I've not seen anything from it. So no, I mean, I don't know whether it's a case of adrenaline, which he's still feeling from obviously winning the title, because obviously it is a big deal. I mean, I don't know about you, dude. When I was a kid, like I said, I thought if I ever become a professional wrestler, the title I wanted to win was the Intercontinental Championship. But just like it had such a nostalgia and history about it. I mean, and if you're a guy that makes it onto that roster and the first title you win is that IC Championship, I can imagine it's quite special. So the only thing I can possibly think that it's possibly adrenaline at the time and excitement levels, whatever, that he's won this title. But I don't know. I think come Monday we'll have a much clearer picture and see if he's kind of tweener, maybe, who knows, but again, we'll have to wait till Monday.
It'll be interesting to see your star rating for the match, please.
Do you know what? I went back and looked at Money in the Bank. I gave Money in the Bank a 3, and I was justified with this one because I gave this a 2 3/4.
Interesting. I've given it a 2.5. I think it's above TV quality, but at the same time, it's too short for me to give anything higher, in my opinion. So I would have liked more. On a show that's driven with stories, I'd have liked a bit more story in this one. That's all I would say. Yeah. This is more of a short story, I guess, if you go to it. But we'll move on in the meantime. But Breakker is not human. He's a machine. Just look at the way he runs. He's so fast. It's so fast indeed. Apparently, 23 miles per hour is the way how fast he hits.
How many times have I said that on this show now?
Well, it's not the only new champion on the show. L.A. Knight, is your brand new United States Champion, defeating Logan Paul. Obviously, Logan Paul came to the ring side, and of course, he had Machine Gun Kelly with him on the way to the ring. Of course, Machine Gun Kelly would have those knuckles later on. But obviously, there was a bit of a scuffle before this match even started. See Logan going into the prime, and that vertebraker into a neck breaker on the table was just awesome, by the way. See a couple of the big spots here, that side moonsault from Logan Paul, and that brainbuster slash superplex from LA Knight was awesome in ring. Obviously, we had a bit of kerfuffle there. We're getting the brass knuckles, which Logan Paul got from Machine Gun Kelly. He did apply them to LA Knight, but LA Knight did actually counter the buckshot lariat to hit the BFT and actually pick up the win and win the United States Championship. I thought this was a fun match between these two, very hard hitting. And for me, I like the idea of the celebrity that's used in it as well, because obviously having Machine Gun Kelly involved in it as well bring more eyes to it. LA Knight is someone that's been wanted to be pushed for a long time, and it kind of feels like finally LA Knight is a champion in WWE.
Yeah, I mean, dude, we've been waiting for it. Do you know what? I think I should start going against LA Knight more often, because as soon as I go against him in predictions, he wins something. And it was we've been saying for months, LA Knight should win the US title at WrestleMania. He should win Money in the Bank and fight. And the first time we sat there and went, well, Logan Paul is the hometown hero, and I don't know, maybe WWE don't do the trope where the hometown hero loses, but yeah, man, he got his ass thoroughly handed to him, and yeah, it was just an overall, just a great match. Like I said, the first 5 minutes they spend that side absolutely destroying the ring side, and the old table spot that doesn't break the first time but does later on. I'm loving the way they do that now with it. Yeah, I mean, I've got to give props though. Logan Paul hits maybe the most perfect springboard moonsault I have ever seen in my life, because it was beautiful. The way that he just gets up, it's just majestic. They say Tiffany Stratton has the prettiest moonsault. I'm telling you now, that was the prettiest moonsault I've ever seen in my life.
Damn, that's some praise there indeed. There, obviously, and to be fair, let's not get twisted. I mean, the fact that he does the springboard, he turns as well as he's doing that to do it. I mean, it is. I mean, I've seen some swimmers in the Olympics on the diving section that have not been able to do anything quite like that. So, yeah, shout out to Logan Paul. That was a very impressive spot, to be fair. But yeah, I thought it was a hard hitting match. Obviously, we did have the entourage as well for Logan Paul that were in and around the area as well. And L.A Knight did give them a bit of a beating during that match as well. But it looks like something you're desperate to get out. So I'm going to jump straight back to you.
Did you notice it at the end of the match?
Tell me.
Did you see Logan Paul's foot was under the rope when they counted the 3?
I did notice that, yeah.
Yeah. There's a rematch coming for that one.
There probably is. I mean, there is something in the back pocket there. It's when they want to execute it. I mean, the thing is, we both said Logan Paul was going to win, but the reason we said that was because of the homecoming on SmackDown. Yeah. We got duped because we always follow the 50-50 rule. If you have the advantage on the go-home show, you tend to not be winning on the PLE. So when we knew Logan Paul had a homecoming, we knew L.A Knight was going to crash it, which he did. He stole the Prime truck as well. So we assumed in ourselves, well, when something like that happens, well, Logan Paul will get his back at something. And I thought myself as well, and I saw Machine Gun Kelly come down and I was like, there you go, the celebrity. He's the one that's going to be the reason this time, not the other guys. And they actually still did that. And then they went a level further, which, let's be fair play to WWE. That's the moment you know you are playing checkers and they are actually playing chess. But yeah, all in all, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it too much more. But I think that even though I thought Logan Paul was going to win, I'm happy L.A Knight has won it. I think the US title is going to be much better appreciated on SmackDown moving forward. There's a host of talented superstars that have had nothing really to fight for apart from their storylines, but now we'll be able to add a championship into that program as well, which would be great for them. So for me, this is a win-win all around. I think Logan Paul was arguably has outgrown the United States Championship as well. I know he's had a few controversial comments, which we won't go into on X through the week, but I think he'll be back. I mean, Triple H spoke very highly of him when it comes to the press conference again. Sorry, NXT to bring it up again. But I think Logan Paul probably takes a break till Crown Jewel, probably comes back around then. Wouldn't be surprised to see a rematch if I'm honest. But all in all, star rating for you, I'm going to go for a 3.75.
I went with a 3.5. I thought this was equally just as good as the opening match, like for me. And but again, same thing. Not the wrestling isn't the best, but the story's there for it. So I went 3.5 here.
Yeah, there's good stuff all around. And obviously, LA Knight now, actually, as we say, United States Champion. I'm looking forward to seeing who he will face next, because that one does feel like it's a bit open.
My only worry is that he's on the same show as the Bloodline, and they're currently belt collecting. And, you know, certain Jacob Fatu is there, and I'm like, oh no, LA Knight's going to lose that title within a week to Jacob Fatu.
His foot's in a sort of brace thing, though, isn't it? After the show, yeah. He's in the boot, so I think Knight might be saved just for now. I hope LA Knight gets a good run with this championship. I really, really do. But we'll go into the comments very quickly. Zayn says he will never drink Prime because he doesn't like Logan Paul. I will never drink Prime because I don't like Prime. I think it tastes like, never mind.
It's super sugary.
Yeah, it's not nice. Not in my opinion, anyway. Noob and Co says I'm excited for LA Knight won the US title. Logan Paul was definitely the most hated guy in the internet. Certainly wasn't very liked very much in Cleveland either, being perfectly honest. Yeah. Zane asking, there's a couple of random questions now for us. Do you think Samantha Irvin is the best ring announcer in all of wrestling? Currently, yes, for me.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like Lillian Garcia, especially when she comes back to beat people up at SummerSlam. I think that's equally just great. But I think more importantly is Samantha Irvin has taken ring announcing and made it her own. And she has essentially become a character now in WWE, and WWE are playing to that. And the fact that she does all the ring announcing on pay-per-views now, and she does it for Is she on SmackDown, I believe? Yeah, she's on SmackDown, because that's Raw, is it? Okay, yeah, wherever Ricochet used to be. So yeah, she's kind of set herself apart from the rest of them. Oh, and she also does quite revealing photos on Instagram, apparently, as well.
Seems to break the internet on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yep.
Can't say I can't say that I've known about that, to be fair. But Sid says, who's the best female referee? Who's got the best female referees? WWE, AEW, or TNA? Can't say I pay much attention, to be brutally honest, with this details. I'll say WWE. We're on a WWE stream, and yeah, I think WWE.
I'd have to say AEW just because they have a character there in I forget her name because of my brain's
Edwards. Alicia Edwards.
No. The AEW one, the one that always does the Jericho matches.
I thought it was her name.
No.
Comments, help me out. I've obviously got the names mucked up in my head. What's her name? Audrey
Edwards. Edwards. Sorry. Yes. Sorry. Apologies. Yeah. Audrey. Yeah. She's the same as Samantha Irvin. She kind of, when AEW first started, she kind of became a character in AEW. So I'd say that.
She just winds me up, unfortunately. I see her just like make matches about her. So I'm just like, you're not, it's like, you know, when you watch like a sports match, it doesn't matter what your flavor is, if it's basketball, NFL, soccer, for us, proper football. You just know when the referee makes themselves the star of the show, like, and he just winds you up watching the game. Like, that's the vibe I get watching her in AEW matches, because it's always about her. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
I didn't think you'd see on this one, eh? But we'll move on in the meantime. Zane, great question about Roman and Solo, but we'll get to that when we get to Roman and Solo, if you don't mind. Because in the meantime, we need to talk about a brand new women's champion. That's right, Nia Jax defeating Bayley. Obviously quite dominant, Nia Jax, throughout the beginning of this match. But if we're going to be honest here, we're not going to waste too much time in getting into the good part, because I think the crowd really popped when Bayley hit that power bomb. That was the moment everyone went, whoa, you know, it's not like that she was going to get back into it. And there'd been some avalanches done. But the second that Bayley thought she was going to get the victory, Tiffany comes out running out with that money in the bank. Bayley does cut her off, but that is enough for Nia Jax to get back on top again, hitting a couple of power bombs and a couple of avalanches as well to get the job done and become your brand new women's champion. All in all, for me, this was a match that, I'm going to be honest, the first half, there's a reason why I'm not giving a lot of detail in the first half, wasn't that into it. I wasn't that into it until that power bomb kicked in. I all of a sudden woke up and boom, was in it for the rest of it.
This one was definitely a grower, Steve. Definitely. I'm the same as you. Like, yeah, you had to lost it. I'll tell you what, there was actually one production note that kind of pissed me off, excuse my French. And it was when they were doing a wide angle shot and you could see that half of the ringside seats were empty.
Yeah, I know.
And I was kind of like, that's really the dumbest production angle to ever show, because you've essentially told everyone this is the toilet break match, because the place emptied out and they were quite happy showing you that half the ringside seats were empty. And it annoyed me, because I was like, I said to you before, in 10 years' time, when we look back at this card, I'll probably sit there and go that Bayley Nia probably isn't the greatest match on there. It isn't the greatest match on there, but it's not the worst match on the night for me. And when you do stuff like that, it kind of re-emphasizes what people think about these matches, because you've done exactly what everyone expected. Everyone was expecting this match to be a bit of a dud, and it turned out to be a lot better than what most people were thinking it was going to be. The dominance by Nia Jax is so much better now than her first run. The two power bombs, the annihilators, it just was great. And like I said, you had that one production thing in there, it just ruins the whole thing for me, because it doesn't ruin the rating of the match, because I still have a better rating for it. But like I said, if we went back and watched this 10 years later, that would probably knock my rating of this match, because it would kind of be like, oh, well, everyone knows this was the toilet break match at SummerSlam 2024.
I totally agree, because it wasn't just in that spot as well. I noticed other camera shots as well. I suppose it's kind of hard because people are moving, but you see people walking around everywhere. You see like obviously the stadium, they've got bright chairs. So when someone isn't in their seat, all of a sudden that stands out like a sore thumb, kind of like our background today. You know, you can't miss a bit of orange, you know. So I kind of understand where you're coming from with that. And I got to agree, really. Do you know what I mean? It was given that feeling that it wasn't like the most important match on the card. And that that does suck a little bit for the performers involved. But what I say is that for those that were into it, those that were watching it, especially when it got into high gear and it got to that, the final act, if you want, of the match, it really went up a notch, and it was really like a lot of people were getting into it, and I must say, myself included, by the end of it, which is why I'm going to give it a higher rating of a 2.75 rating now. But I mean, I do look at this and think it's the right result. I know that some people were really keen on Bayley to retain the championship, maybe a bit disappointed with the championship run, but I just feel like the story there for Bayley was to win the championship, and they just didn't really quite have the follow-up. If they don't have the follow-up, then let's move on to the next story. Bayley can regroup, get herself back into the picture. I'm sure she'll go for the title again because there's no one else currently there to get in the way at this second for Nia Jax. But the real story now seems to be the fact of this Nia and Tiffany partnership, because you have Queen of the Ring, Money in the Bank, and, well, now a Women's World Champion, all in that collective of this duo of the Queen and Princess. They're having a hell of a summer. And to be fair, it's almost that moment now of, will Tiffany, cash in on her friend at some point, because they're going to obviously have a budding friendship. They'll probably get some friction somewhere along the way. It's probably a WrestleMania match or something with these two, probably further down the line. But it's just a case of, will the title still be involved?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting there thinking now, how long's Nia going to hold this title for? And when you've got, I believe Jade and Bianca are both on SmackDown as well, aren't they?
Oh, yes.
And it's kind of like, if you've got those two, although they're still kind of mixed up in the tag team scene at the minute, you've got those two ready and willing, and you kind of like, I'm like, where is this women's world title scene going to be? This women's WWE Championship title going to be come WrestleMania? And it's like, I could generally see Nia holding it till Mania. Like, she's had such a better run this time around with her creative and her character. And yeah, like you said, the fact that she's now teamed up with it, I mean, I'm sure at some point there'll be a crossover at a show, like, for instance, I don't know, Survivor Series or something, where Tiffany may run into whoever the world champion is one time, if it's Liv or Rhea or whatever. And do you know what I mean? I'm sure there'll be a story beat where Nia tries to get her to cash in on that person instead. So yeah, I'm looking forward to how they're almost good cop, bad cop, buddy cop duos. Like, do you know what I mean? I expect this is going to be like a very like Lethal Weapon, or do you know what I mean? Some sort of really cheesy cop film that always has like two friends that always like one will turn on the other, and that's what I'm just expecting from the next 6 months. But generally, I'm actually happy for Nia. I think that this title win was a lot better than her first one as well when she beat Bliss at Mania. I much preferred this one. She looked like a much better WWE superstar than she did the first time around.
100% agree. I was actually speaking to Jonesy about this. He asked me about my thoughts on Nia Jax and said like the first run wasn't so good, but I do feel that now since she's returned, you can just see the hard work is paying off, and I feel that she's had some really good matches with, like I said, Becky Lynch, like Valkyria. I think this match, once it got going, actually improved. Like you say, it was a match that, with more time, it just got better, and it just makes sense. It all just makes sense. Nia Jax is a heel. Tiffany's the next rising star as a heel as well. You're probably gonna get Charlotte return at some point. There's a match made already then for that women's championship. Bayley will go for it again. Bliss could be, if she's not going to be on Raw, but we don't know where she'll be at present time. And obviously, when you look, for example, like you said, the Bianca and Jade also are two contenders. Well, once they come in that tag team division, if one doesn't turn on the other, then there's two more baby faces. So it does make sense to have a heel champion right now, and Nia is the most established, so it does make a lot of sense. And yeah, looking forward to seeing where it leads. If I had to guess right now, though, I would say that Nia holds that title until the Rumble, if I had to guess till now, because I have a feeling it could be either Bianca versus Jade or Bianca versus Charlotte at WrestleMania next year. And I think that it could be Bianca that could be taking that title from Jax, but it could also be Charlotte as well.
Yeah, like I said, I am like, don't get me wrong, you're probably right, but I could see Nia holding this till Mania, depending on how her run goes. Like, it's been good so far. Maybe it can become even better as we get to that point. But yeah, I totally agree. The only other thing I was going to add to this match as well was Bayley looked like the most hugger Bayley that we've seen in years. Bright colors, tassels. I was like, this is very reminiscent of old Bayley here. Very strange to see.
Will she go back to the hugger phase? Probably unlikely, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll go to a couple of comments. We're just going to stick to the comments now on the actual match we're talking about. Other we'll come into later. Go for it.
We didn't give our match ratings.
I gave mine. I didn't get yours then. Sorry, apologies.
Oh, sorry. What did you say? 2 3/4?
2 3/4 I gave, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did hear you. Oh, no, I gave it a 3.
3? That's a good result.
I thought it was slightly. I think this was better than Bron versus Sami, put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, it had more time to tell the story and obviously had the chance and time to develop, which is good for it as well. Will we get Tiffany versus Charlotte, the right to be called Queen? Maybe, Roger. I think that match certainly is on the horizon of when Charlotte Flair returns.
Yeah, possibly. Like, I mean, I'm genuinely, for the first time in a long time, looking forward to the return of Charlotte Flair.
It's going to be interesting. And Roger also asking, can Tiffany cash in on men's titles? Possibly. I haven't seen it happen. Technically. Tiffany versus Cody, anyone?
Why not, dude? Why not?
Why not? Speaking of why not talk about this match next? One of the most not the word. Let's look for it. The one of the more unpredictable matches on the card and anticipated matches on the card. And first question I have for you before we're just going to go through the graphics. Actually, I will try and talk about the match, but I want to know your thoughts of Seth's ring attire at some point because there it is in full glory there from Seth Freakin Rollins. Then obviously you can see the two there going to hit it off there early into the match, but this one had the full drama. Of course, the SummerSlam 97 spot looked like it was in full course there. Seth missing Drew and almost hitting Punk, who's got the Bret Hart attire on there as well. But the bracelet came out, of course, the AJ and Larry one that he was wearing. Punk did get the better of Drew there, but then once he looks like he's going to hit the GTS, it was actually on the ground, that bracelet. Seth is the one that's picked up and wearing it. Punk noticed that and wasn't too happy. Of course, then Punk dunked, and that's where we saw Drew land Seth out. The GTS was then hit, and there's no Seth to count the pin. So Punk got really upset with things, thought the Punk was being screwed, so he actually did the GTS there. But then he walked into a kick there, low blow, a Claymore. And when Seth came around, he counted the 1, 2, 3, and there Drew stands tall over Punk with the bracelet around his wrist. So I got all of it in time. I'm quite happy with that because there's quite a lot of steals for that one. But thoughts of this match, and personally, I will start off with Seth's ring attire. What did you think of his referee shirt?
Screw you, Dave Meltzer. Seth looked phenomenal, man. He looked absolutely fantastic, as I expected him to be. Dude, it's the character, it's the gimmick, it's what I expected, and he looked great. And then obviously, like I said at the start of the show, when he's got the ref cam and he goes, if you've ever wondered what it's like to be Seth Rollins when he comes down to the ring, and I was like, do you know what? This is a great little thing to add to the production value. Oh, they also brought the 8K cameras back as well for the ring introductions, and I was like, that's great as well, because I always love an 8K camera.
Yeah, it was awesome. I really liked it.
The video package was really good, but it didn't justify how good this rivalry's been. I think they need to up the ante for the next video package because, dude, they're doing this again because this was fantastic. The only other question I've got to ask you this, because you're a bit of a, you'll know because your memory is a lot better than mine. As Drew comes out, and obviously they're starting to do very AEW things now where they have a placard and it says their achievements and all this kind of stuff. It said Drew McIntyre is 2-1 in 4 appearances at SummerSlam.
All right.
Where's the fourth one in that score? Because I was like, how do you go 2-1 in 4 matches?
I don't know. I know my memory's meant to be good, but no.
Hopefully, if someone knows in the comments, just please tell me where a match where Drew McIntyre was involved where he didn't win or lose, apparently.
I mean, he lost to Gunther last year. That's as good as I can give you. Maybe they had the point ready for what they were going to do with this one. I couldn't tell you. Yeah. What I can tell you is that this is a story show, like we said, and this match had story in abundance. I loved the tease of the SummerSlam 97 thing. I love that Punk played into it wearing Bret Hart themed attire. Thought that was awesome. And the
same as his gear that he wore in 2012 as well, like on the same echelons of when he faced Big Show and John Cena. I noticed it straight away, and I was like, "That's great."
Yeah, it is awesome. And the thing is, as well, like you look at it and think to yourself that the story of this match, with the bracelet, for example, of CM Punk wants back. He's so desperate to get it back that in theory he had the match won on a couple of occasions. And one thing I didn't mention in the story beat they're going for there is that he does have the Anaconda Vice on Drew at one point, and Drew looks like he's going to tap out. And obviously he chooses to go and get the bracelet instead. His emotions clearly were somewhere different, and obviously that's something that Drew's been doing for a long time. So, he wanted Punk injured, he got his way, and then afterwards he's just gloating in front of Punk, wins the world title at WrestleMania, gets screwed. Clash at the Castle, said what he was going to do, got screwed. Said the same at Money in the Bank, got screwed. It's CM Punk this time whose emotions got the better of him. And funnily enough, he got screwed. CM Punk screwed CM Punk. And for me, this happens to be the right result of this match, because I'm very sorry to do this to you. I'm very sorry to do this to you, by the way, NXT, because that press conference came up again. And obviously it's just for Jackie Redmond here. And obviously Drew's come out and said that with Wade Barrett, they wanted to celebrate with beers live on air, but WWE Productive wouldn't let them do it. And Big E said, you actually suggested that because CM Punk's straight edge? He went, that's exactly why I'm doing it, because he wanted to celebrate with a beer on stage. So clearly he has said that CM Punk now is in the rear move viewer. He's moving on. It's done. It's not done. He's still got the bracelet. Punk will come back. And look, we've discussed this already on previews, Q&As, the rest of it. So if you've been here before, you know where we're going with this. Bad Blood is where this is going to culminate. We hope it's Hell in a Cell. Punk will get the win, and this is over when he gets that bracelet back.
Yeah, dude, like 100%. Like the whole, like you said, the emotional thing, and he just sees it laying on the floor there, and the fact that this 50 cents bracelet means the absolute world to CM Punk, and to see it just laying there on the floor. And then obviously moments later you see Seth pick it up and he's like, oh, well, I'll put it on just to keep it safe so it doesn't get damaged or whatever. And Punk seeing it and being like, are you trying to screw me over too? Oh, dude, it's just such great storytelling, man. Like, honestly, I couldn't have asked for something more emotionally involving than this, man. It was just so good to watch. I do have a pet peeve, though, of this match. Bearing in mind that this was meant to be a kind of blood feud, Drew's going for pins after like 3 minutes. And I'm like, the whole point of this is so you can kick 7 living bells out of each other, and you're trying to pick up a pinfall in the first 3, 4, 5 minutes. Was my one pet peeve. But otherwise, wrestling, not so much a great wrestling. It does what it needs to do. But it's the story they tell, man. Dude, when this story culminates and we go back in 10 years' time and watch this again, and we're just going to be, oh my God, this is so good stuff, man. I mean, you're right. It is absolutely the right result. Again, when we did our predictions, I was like, I can't see Punk losing his first match back, but it just makes so much more sense.
It does, because now we can carry this on. And obviously Punk in the meantime now has got reasons to be upset with Rollins after this. Rollins has reasons to actually be upset with Punk as well. So we are on the road to building that feud up for a later date, which I'm guessing is going to be Vegas.
I would imagine so. I mean, at this present minute, I wouldn't be surprised if Punk wins the Rumble, because because Punk still wants that main event. And I think if Seth manages to pick that title up again by Rumble, I think Punk could win the Rumble. And then we get Punk versus Seth at Mania.
I'm going to clip that. We need to clip that. That's because that's something that I think they wanted to do, at one point, and it would have been awesome if they could have done it. So for this year, that coming up, I think would be awesome if Punk could win the Rumble, and again go against Seth at WrestleMania. That could be that main event these two would have liked to have had, but we'll have to wait and see if that will go down, because obviously we do have a new World Heavyweight Champion, which we'll go into in a couple of moments' time. But before we do that, we need to give our star ratings for this match.
4.5 from me.
Wow, nice. I've gone for a solid 4. I think solid 4 for me on this one.
Yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed the storytelling in this, and yeah, dude, I'm just cannot wait for Monday to see the next beat.
Absolutely not. Apparently, Roger says he's got an impression Dave Meltzer did not think that Drew versus Punk was a good match. Haven't heard anything on Meltzer regarding that.
I saw online earlier, or last night, whenever it was, he basically turned around and said what a lot of people are saying, that this isn't the best wrestling show, but it's a very good story-based show. Although he actually said that he doesn't have any problems with the show, but it's just not the best wrestling show. Yes, he said the stories were predictable, but they delivered them in the best way possible.
There you go. Thank you for that. I haven't seen anything with Meltzer on that one there, so it'll be interesting to see. But like we said, we do have a brand new World Heavyweight Champion. But before we get there, obviously you mentioned earlier on in the evening, Damian Priest and Finn Balor had a bit of an altercation, if you will, because Priest was unhappy what happened with Dom. It said something he didn't quite mean. Obviously, like, are you in on it? And also hurt Balor's feelings. Priest apologized to Balor before the match. Balor pretty much said he'd forgiven him. Might as well just told him, I'm going to screw you out of the championship, because you knew from the second there that was what was going to come, really, wasn't it? If you need me at ringside, I'll be there. Yeah.
My first initial thought when I saw it was like, I'm so ready for this fallout now. Like, I genuinely thought, oh, this will be somewhere down the line. We've had the Dom breakup tonight. We won't get Finn as well, dude. How wrong was I?
I must admit, because like I said, we thought this was going to be dragged out longer. We thought this was going to be just the accidents and the bits here just to kick in for the next month. But as soon as we saw it happen there, I was like, I wasn't surprised that it did what was going to follow. I kind of knew a prediction was going to be wrong with this match instantly.
Bearing in mind that we've just seen Bayley lose, we've just seen Sami Zayn lose, and I was like, there's no way we're getting 3 title reigns that have all lasted the same amount of time, change on the same night. That was my initial thought going into the match, because I was like, no, there's no way we get 3 title reigns that last about 110 days and they all change on the same night.
And yet it happened. Here comes the hat trick. Gunther becoming your brand new World Heavyweight Champion. Obviously, this one, like you said, was just slapping meat for the first point, to the point that Gunther's chest was actually bleeding.
Beefy guys.
Yeah, 2 big beefy guys, which was quite fun to see. But obviously, we see Finn Balor coming out there, obviously, to try and cheer Priest on. But it takes a boot to his face from Gunther. But what was a weird surprise was after this South of Heaven, because it did spur Priest on to make the big comeback, that's when Balor actually put the foot on the rope from Gunther. Once Priest had seen the replay, that's when he goes for Finn Balor. However, the big sleeper is put onto Damian Priest. And on the second attempt, Priest does pass out. You see those glaring looks there from the Prince Finn Balor, and there's your brand new World Heavyweight Champion Gunther, I should say. Goodness, Damian Priest had on the tongue quite a lot there, but ultimately, this match was just sort of ultimately about that betrayal, and to be honest, just to see Finn go into that place, that zone, because he lost to Gunther on Raw as well, and what Gunther was said about him would have stung, would have hurt him. We're not seeing the Finn Balor to the potential of what it could have been. For me, I just got those, dare I say it, and I'm going to say it, those like 2019 NXT vibes. He just really goes into evil Finn Balor. Not really, we've seen him like this sort of like, cocky kind of heel in the Judgment Day, is like, up for that. But this is one evil son of a gun that's just kicked in here, which has kicked Priest out of the group. I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes next.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm sure, I can't remember when I said it. I know I did, but I said Balor always has the best heel turns, or the best turns. I said obviously the one where he Pele kicks Johnny Gargano in NXT. I know people have brought up him like starting Bullet Club in New Japan, but his facial expressions, my God, that guy can sell evil, man. It was so good. The match, not the best. Again, not the best wrestling match, but dude, this was just 2 big beefy guys just slapping the hell out of each other. And like the fact that Priest manages to get Gunther to bleed from chops, I think is the first time I've ever seen someone bleed from chops. And I was like, my God, these 2 are going Pete and Tong for it. It was crazy. Obviously Gunther kicks Priest in the side of the head, which Gunther kicks Balor in the side of the head, which caused Priest to Hulk out. And then obviously we get the finish. There's a gripe there, that the fact that Priest basically pushes Gunther towards that rope, which is the reason why Balor's able to put his foot on there, kind of was a bit jarring. But I was like, I'll let it slip. But then the fact just to see Balor do it, and the way they produced it, that Priest stands up and he sees the replay on the big screen of Balor doing it and realizes that Balor's the one that screwed him over. I was like, oh my God, actual logic here. In like, he knows that Balor was the one that cost him. He's just seen him do it because he's watched it. Like, how many times have we watched a pay-per-view before and be like, dude, there's a big, like, 60-foot screen to your left there. If you look there, they're showing the replay. You can see what just happened, and they finally did it, and I can appreciate that. It was so much better, but the way that Priest then becomes so focused on Balor and he grabs him by the throat and Gunther's just able to take advantage and then just absolutely even using a sleeper hold to just make him go and knock out. And the fact that even in the sleeper hold, Priest is still so focused on Balor that he's trying to get to him even while he's being tapped out, knocked out essentially. And then Gunther to actually win because, again, like I said at the start, generally, I thought this would be the one time that Gunther actually, Priest actually finally can win a match all by himself without no help. Unfortunately, doesn't work out that way. And then, yeah, Gunther winning just again is the biggest shock. And yeah, having him as a world champion, dude, yeah, that crowd is going to be absolutely steaming in Berlin when Gunther turns up with that world championship. I love this, man. I thought this was great. Again, just to play off on what I said on the prediction show, though, it's kind of it's slightly underwhelming because Gunther hasn't been used as much on TV, which is why I genuinely thought Priest was going to win this. I thought they were trying to play down the fact that Gunther wasn't going to win this title. I mean, this probably would have been made a bigger deal out of, I think, if Gunther had been on TV every week and they'd been building this feud consecutively over the week since he'd won King of the Ring.
Yeah, do you know what? I mean, I've been thinking about this because you mentioned this before about Gunther not being so active in the ring. I don't know if they've just have a break because, you know, we see him celebrate, obviously, with his wife, Ginny. Obviously, those NXT UK fans remember her at ringside. You know, is it a situation of have time with the family? Because once you win this world title, you're going to be on the road a lot. You know, you're going to be doing a lot now moving forward. Can be some of that. Has there been a niggling injury? We don't quite know. But one thing's for sure, that Gunther has been fine now here at SummerSlam. And obviously was fine on Raw this past week as well. And had some great, some great matches probably coming ahead. Like you said, Berlin is going to be a great place. We thought perhaps maybe that's where Gunther would be crowned, but he's going to actually be going in as World Heavyweight Champion. And obviously, with regards to everything with the Judgment Day, we all knew it was coming. We said at the time, we wondered, because Triple H likes long-term stories, will that story be dragged out a bit further? It's just the case, though, on the flip side, big things happen on big stadium shows as well. And I think Triple H has gone for the big flip of the big stadium show rather than going for playing out for being a bit longer. But all in all, executed very well. Like I say, story done very well to perfection. Gunther, for me, I like I said, we predicted that he wasn't going to win. I thought his shoulder would be up, just like King of the Ring, where he won King of the Ring with Randy's shoulder being up. So I thought it would have been a perfect way to do the rematch, but not needed. They probably will do a rematch with these two at some point down the line for the World Heavyweight Championship, just be in case if it's going to be at Berlin or if it's going to be at another location. But yeah, I'm looking forward to these two mixing up again. I thought this was a solid match. Would love to know your star rating for it.
This is going to sound insane. I went 4 3/4. Essentially, this was the best wrestling match of the night for me. Because for the minimalist amount of reason, it essentially was just two guys beating the, like, banger after banger. Like, do you know what I mean? Just hard hitting, physical, just physical torture towards each other. But like I said to you previously, this Judgment Day story for me has been the most important story that I want to see every week. And now that we finally have another, on the same night, we have two major plot twists, and Balor just being that evil son of a gun that he is, and that heel turn, man. It's a story that, again, like I said at the top of the show, I cannot wait for Monday to see where this story is going to go, because I'm just so invested in it right now.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it as well. I've gone for a 4-star rating for this one. I thought, like you say, I thought the match was brilliant. Really enjoyed it from top to bottom. And like you say, everything was executed very well. Great performance. Gunther, every time, makes every move matter with his slow, methodic style. Everything has time to breathe. Everything has time to sink in. And that's why you just think to yourself at the end of it, like, that's why the chop matters in that match more to where it matters in other matches where people would like do 6 or 7 moves in about 30 seconds. Gunther does it and just lets it just sink in that bit longer, and I always love that with his character and the way he executes, and that's why his matches are always almost near on perfect each and every time. But I have one last little topic I was just going to bring up quickly, because Finn Balor's the heel in this situation, but we shouldn't forget that when Priest was Money in the Bank last year, he did cost Finn Balor the match against Seth Rollins when he was going for this World Heavyweight Championship. Has Finn been holding this in for that long?
Maybe that's actually a great story beat that hopefully they play off against. Like, yeah, man, maybe that is the truth. But look, let's be honest. Since Priest won that world title, he has become a douchebag to the rest of Judgment Day. A complete. And then when Rhea returned, and those two were all like chummy friendlies, and you could just tell Finn's. It's going to be great because Finn's like, Liv was the one that helped us get the tag team titles back. Blah, blah, blah. It's going to be so good. But yeah, man, hopefully they can play into that and be like, you cost me the world title back then, and you've had this coming, and hopefully they can possibly play off something towards. Like obviously the origin of the whole group coming together when they took Edge out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been so many twists and turns in the Judgment Day group, and obviously different reformations that we could be getting as well. So I'm looking forward to the next chapter. And obviously, we have been given Temple's in house. Hope you do well, Temple. Thank you for joining us, suggesting Demon Balor versus Priest at Bash in Berlin. I don't see a demon coming in this early. I think that you play that for the long game. But this is a single match that could happen at Berlin. It would make a lot of logical sense to do.
I think the demon's dead. I don't think you're going to see if you ever see the demon, it's going to be in some sort of maybe Uncle Howdy versus Demon Balor kind of scenario. Like, I don't think they're ever going to bring the demon back. I think Vince ruined the demon.
He didn't do very well with the demon, did he? But I think the Edge Hell in a Cell match was probably one of those that didn't help it either when they did bring it back that one time. But I wouldn't be against seeing it again. I think when the desperate times call for desperate measures, I think they could do it as a close off for this feud, because obviously with Priest as well, just the fact that it's, Judgment Day itself, it's kind of eerie, kind of demon-esque as well. It would be fun to see it coming. But this is something else that I think could be quite likely as well for the show. Not the last name. I'm going to replace the last name with Jey Uso. Because I think Balor, Morgan, and Dom versus Priest, Rhea, and Buddy Murphy, we can always wish, absolutely, but we could get Priest, Rhea, and Jey Uso, which I do expect he will be.
JD and Carlito on a pole match.
Why not? Why not? They could do that. They certainly could do that. Wouldn't be against it. How long do you think the Gunther title reign will last? As long as Gunther wants.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to wait for someone like Seth or Punk to be done with doing whatever they're doing. Like, Seth is, at this present minute, Seth's probably going to be the guy that takes that title off of him.
Yeah, absolutely. Seth could be the guy. I think that match up in the Rumble, but the thing is, we made a prediction a long time ago, and I kind of still feel like with, WrestleMania next year, John Cena's last WrestleMania, I wouldn't be surprised to see, John go for that 17th world title. And a John Cena versus Gunther match for me just ticks a lot of boxes. That was a match we predicted right after Mania. At that time, it was a retirement match, but it wouldn't be now. It would be for a World Heavyweight title if it was to carry on. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Gunther hold it for a long time, because he's always had long title reigns. So it would be a surprise if he was to lose it in a few months.
Rumble, I would say. Give Gunther some time to become a very dominant champion. Like, dude, he's got the title. He's already a dominant champion. Like, the fact that they emphasized that on his ring entrance yesterday when they stated how long he'd been the United Kingdom champion, asterisk COVID times, because, the world shut down. Obviously, how long he'd been Intercontinental Champion. He just needs to start getting getting some strong wins against some very good opponents behind him. Maybe, like I said, Rumble time. Cena's obviously on a retirement tour next year. Why not Gunther versus Cena at the Royal Rumble?
Oh, hello. Could be interesting. But I imagine if he's not in the Rumble, that would be a good way to start off, though. I would not be against that at all. But there's plenty of people that Gunther can be facing off in the meantime. One match suggested for Bash in Berlin is Ilya Dragunov. Obviously, they have a lot of history together. They've teased it on the main roster previously as well. I personally have predicted a different avenue, but certainly would not be against this idea at all. I think at one point it would be a match that I would have loved to have seen at this show. But it feels to me that they could be building for Bron Breakker Dragunov, which makes me think Gunther could have something else in mind. But would you like to see this match? I think it's almost like yes and yes are the two options.
Yes and yes, but I already know who you could put into that spot straight away. Someone who recently just lost the title. You could put one Sami Zayn in that position.
Oh, hello, yeah. Good work, very well. Yeah.
Hey, he beat him at Mania. I could beat you again for that world title. Get some more losses behind Sami before he finally does win that world championship.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is as well, then Gunther gets the, the lost record off from
Yeah.
WrestleMania earlier this year. So it just making a lot of sense to do that as well. A lot of people are still talking about Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, saying definitely don't want to see this prolonged till WrestleMania. Hopes it will be at Bad Blood instead. And Temple says that Eddie will be so proud of his son. Latino Heat, he lied, he cheated, and he stole. We certainly did. Indeed. Love this. Bracelet on the pole match for Bad Blood for Punk versus Drew. Forget Hell in a Cell. Russo in disguise? Temple, no, I know you're not. Better than Russo. But so, yeah, I think we're ready to get to that main event match then, shall we? So pretty much, ladies and gents, if you enjoyed the video so far, please hit the like button. That's all we're going to ask. Please hit the like button. It helps.
You missed your favourite part.
What did I miss?
Jelly roll.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Steve's new favourite wrestler.
Yeah. Let's call it up quickly. Waller and
there he is.
Here we are. The chair shot was amazing. Let's be fair. It was Hogan-esque, but that choke slam, Theory did sell that like an absolute hero. And obviously the 15 knuckle shuffle there as well. Pretty much Austin Theory and Grayson Waller were being douchebags. So they kind of got the comeuppance because they dissed Cleveland and they dissed Jelly Roll and they paid for it. So we got the attendance as well while we're at it, which apparently Miz now we've learned has got a very big house.
Apparently so, according to our truth. But dude, Jelly Roll were the most Hulk Hogan style chair shots ever.
I gotta say, I absolutely loved it for all the wrong reasons. It was there. It was there. The thing is, it was just a nice cushion between World Heavyweight Championship match to World, because the last three matches of this show, you could imagine, boom, 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 it can be quite heavy. So it's nice just to have a bit of relief of something to distract, and also people a chance to get to the toilet or get something from the stands or just get some food in before that main event. So everyone is
this goes on for this is like 45 minutes, this main event, isn't it? If I remember correctly.
With the entrances and the video packages.
Yeah, with the entrances and stuff, yeah. It's like 45 minutes.
Well, I mean, part of it, which we might as well answer on here because I don't have a picture of it. What did we think of Arn Anderson returning to? Do you think he'll be Cody's manager? Well, disappointed he didn't bring a gun with him. All kidding aside. I think there's a potential that Arn could be.
If anything, actually, I think Arn actually got my hopes up that someone else was going to make a surprise last night. Because when he was like, "Oh, backup's on the way," and I was like, "Oh, it's just KO and Randy." We've seen that before. I was like, "Ooh, maybe Hardy Boys making an appearance or something." Do you know what I mean? I was getting my hopes up for a really big return, and I was like, "Oh, it's just KO and Randy." Not that that's a bad thing, but like, I know Arn Anderson apparently, even though he hasn't been in the company for a couple of years, still has some power backstage.
Absolutely. I'm happy because of the fact, with the history of them with AEW, the Nightmare Family. I was wondering if QT Marshall was going to turn up, but
that was a good show as well, yeah.
I would have hated that. I'm not sorry, QT, if you're watching. I just wouldn't have been a fan of it.
Dude's Jack now. Have you seen him? He's a bodybuilder now. He's like, he's ripped.
I'll choose my words a bit more carefully then, I think. But we'll move on to the main event anyway, and we'll get our photos up as well as we go along with this one. Obviously, look, these two facing one another. WWE trying their best to sort of sell that Solo is on Cody's level. Probably a bit of bad storytelling between John Cena's match and now, but you hear for the interferences. That's where Blood and Rules is all about. We see the GOD get involved. KO and Randy make the save here for this point, taking them out to the R way. We see an RKO there. That led then to the other two getting involved until Jacob Fatu got involved there. Of course, you see the table spot. He took himself out there, obviously hurt his leg in that sort of spot as well. And obviously, we see then Cody do the sort of Cody cutter here at this point, and that was the perfect moment where we see Roman make the return. Who was he going to take out? Well, we didn't have to wait that long. He took out Solo Sikoa first with that Superman punch, and then landing a spear for good measure. Cody hitting one final crossroads after this to get the 1, 2, 3, staring back at Roman Reigns and retaining the championship. Obviously, I mentioned about the first part of this match. Obviously, they had a proper match for about a good 15, 20 minutes before we had all the interferences involved. But I just felt like we were just waiting, if I'm honest, because we all knew what was going to happen. It was just waiting for that moment. But I felt commentary were doing a good job of trying to put Solo over. And as I said, you know, you look back to Crown Jewel when he destroyed John Cena. Solo didn't do a lot for about 6 months, and I think that that's hurt him getting into this SummerSlam main event. I think not enough people took it seriously, but I did like the fact that commentary was really trying to innovate with everything he was doing and trying to say how smart he was and how much he was on the level of Cody. So I will give some props to commentary for that role. But what were your thoughts of the first part of the match before we got to all these shenanigans?
Like, I'll agree with you on the 6 months. The other thing as well that didn't help him was the draft, when they didn't go till like 5th or 6th choice or something. That kind of really sort of, how are we supposed to take you seriously if you're not even one of the top like 5 picks in the draft, was kind of, do you know what I mean? Really stupid booking. But I see what you mean. Like, everything Cody tried, they tried to make Solo look like he was intelligent. Like, most of the time, like, everyone he's faced falls for these Cody spots, but Solo just seemed to have an answer for him. And yeah, I respect it. I mean, we said in the prediction show that he's built himself to the point where he's in the main event scene now, but he's just not ready to win that title yet. And I think that's probably the fairest judgment you're going to say. I mean, don't get me wrong, he may very well win a world title at some point in the future, but it's definitely too soon. And the story with him at the minute isn't about world titles; it's about the bloodline and stuff like that. And this was kind of, it was in the nicest way possible. This was more filler than anything else. Like, again, Cody's being used as some sort of side piece for a bigger story. Maybe, like, I don't know. I'm not trying to critique on it, because this is still entertaining for what it is. It's an overbooked mess, but yeah, it's like I said. I think it's just a bit too early for Solo at the minute. And just to back off what you said about it not doing anything since beating John Cena.
I mean, for me, I thought the match was decent. I don't think it compares to the WrestleMania one with Cody and Roman. I still have that as match of the year currently, just with the, you know, when you say about the overbooked mess stuff. But I mean, obviously, just got lost in the moment with that. And obviously, don't get that very often as like a wrestling fan when you've been watching for this long to actually get lost in it with like a dong from The Undertaker, just like, oh my God. But with this one, I think you could call a lot of the spots of who was going to come, where they were going to come, how it was going to work out. The clever thing for me was the fact that Jacob Fatu actually wrote himself off rather than someone take him out. Almost he's protected of the fact that the only person who can stop Jacob Fatu is Jacob Fatu. That's how good this dude is, and he's going to be a megastar when the time is right. But looking at this, for me, I thought the match was fine to good. I actually think that it did everything it wanted and needed to accomplish out of it, because Roman obviously is the big story return here. There was no Jimmy Uso. Paul Heyman's still out as well. So it's just Roman at this point. I'm glad that they didn't make a stupid mistake and actually align Roman with Solo, because that would have been a very stupid thing to do. So I'm glad that they did it the right way around. Obviously, with Cody, there's a respect factor there, but at the same time, you can just tell that there's going to be another match. They are going to do match 3. It's just a matter of when, not if. They're going to save it to a big stadium show in the States, perhaps Royal Rumble, for example, or if they're going to do it, if I'm going to put me money on the table, again, prediction isn't always what I want, people. Just going to clarify that. Crown Jewel is where I think they're going to do the match. I think it's going to be Cody versus Roman one more time at Crown Jewel. And I think that's when Roman gets cuffed. And I think that's when we start building to Roman having to get some allies. I think if I had to predict War Games right now, everyone says Bloodline versus Bloodline. Completely disagree. I don't think that the story is built there for Roman to get the allies yet. And I can see Cody being on Roman's team in War Games against Solo's team. Wouldn't be surprised, judging on things we're seeing right now, if KO and Randy are the other 2 members, and the fact that they have to coincide with Roman Reigns, and that could be the help of starting to get people bridging to come back on the other side. Because if Roman's aligning himself and working well with the likes of KO and Randy, maybe someone like Jey Uso will learn to forgive. Same with Sami, learn to forgive, because all those people turned on Roman Reigns. They need a reason to go back. It would be interesting to see how it's going to play out.
Yeah, it's a very logical shout. It's the long-term story. I mean, for me, if you're talking about Cody versus Roman, I don't see a reason why those 2 should have another match until at the earliest after the Bloodline feud is done. Why not wait till like WrestleMania 42 or something? Like, I think Crown Jewel just seems like an underwhelming location or spectacle for if you're going to have a 3rd match in this trilogy. And I think at that point, if you do 42, it gives Roman time to have his match with The Rock, gives time for this bloodline story to play out, and in that way, it can be a case of, depending on what Roman wants to do, whether he wants to step away and be proper part-time and come back as and when. If you save it for 42, you've got a chance there for Cody to sort of finish the trilogy off then, but who knows? It's like we're not booking the show, so it doesn't really matter, does it? But yeah, I mean, as in terms of War Games, dude, it sounds like the most logical booking. He has to try and win everyone back now. Don't get me wrong, I think my biggest gripe is seeing Randy and KO being in the same position again where they've been for the last, well, especially KO. He's been in this position for like 2 years. And the fact that he's got to stay in this position again for another year it sucks, but I get it's for a bigger picture. So I think that's just my one personal gripe with it. But yeah, that's it really. Oh, Roman's new music sucks, by the way, as well. His old one was better.
Yeah, the old one was better, I will say. But what did you think then of the pop here? I've got a Temple comment. It says took 10 years, but Roman finally got the loud babyface pop they always wanted for him.
I think if they'd have played his old music, I think if they'd have played his old music, because I heard it and I saw some blue screen lights and I was like, this music sounds duff. Sounds wrong. And you know what they normally do, like especially like with people like Carlito. When Carlito came back at what was it, Backlash, or when it was in Puerto Rico, they played his original music and it got a big pop out of the crowd. And then the next time he's on TV, he has his new music. And that kind of is the more logical thing to do. I think it was great still, but I think it just could have been bigger because half the crowd I think were a bit in awe, was like, I don't know who that's supposed to be until you look up at the screen. Whereas when you hear that gospel singing at the start, you're just like, oh my god, it's Roman Reigns. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the things I felt like it was initial like whoa kind of thing that came out of the crowd, but I always feel for myself watching at home with stadium shows, and this goes to every show almost that's in a stadium.
Yeah,
it's hard to capture that noise the same way as in an arena, but that's just me. For me, it was a really loud pop, and obviously, yeah, as Temple said, it got the desired effect they were looking for. Obviously, Roman is going to come back, and it is a monster babyface reaction that he's going to be going forward. He can be the tribal chief character that he's been, but he's going to be loved now. He's not going to be booed anymore, and it's going to be great and fun to see. Obviously, the story with him and Solo is going to be a fascinating one to see if there'll be an explanation, what it will lead to going forward and stuff like that. And I do think Roman versus Solo is the WrestleMania direction currently, if I had to predict at this particular time. But we'll have to wait and see what it'll all be. But all in all, let's go for a star rating on this one. Anything you'd like to add as well? And then we'll go to the comments.
See, I'm trying to say, do you know what? Again, this is very much story driven, and I think like the story is done so well, and you obviously get the KO and Randy return, and obviously Roman's big return, and everyone was waiting to see what he would do when he get in the ring. That Superman punch obviously gets the biggest reaction out of the night. I went with the 4 on this as well. Like I rated the last two pretty high just because out of favoritism, but I think across the board, I think a lot of people, this show is like just full of 4s, and like I can see why a lot of people would give this a 4, so I went with the 4 as well.
That's fair. I mean, I've gone with a 3.75 for me on this one because, like I said, I think it was good, but I got more into it from when like we got the run, because the run-ins were coming. It was basically just waiting for that moment to kick in. If the match had been, say, 5 minutes shorter, I think with the earlier part of it, then I think I would have been a high rating for me.
To be fair, Cody does try and kill him with a pair of stairs.
Yes.
He hits him twice, and then he throws him out in the third time, but he spears him. So I always appreciate when someone tries to murder someone with some steel steps.
I mean, those stairs went flying around the ring like a boomerang, didn't they? To be fair, with lucky no one actually got hurt with that one, to be fair. But no, absolutely, no, it was fun, and it was a good main event overall from that one. I've got to say, it's a fantastic point being brought in the comments by Wrestling Shane here. Roman is still a free agent too, so Roman can actually appear on Monday Night Raw if he wants to talk to Sami and Jey Uso.
Oh, that's actually a pretty good point.
Very good point.
Because the thing is you've got to try and get Pierce and Aldous now to try and convince him to sign with a show, and he's kind of just be like, no, I'll just go where I want, and I'll do what I want.
Apparently as well, this was Roman's theme at WrestleMania 40. I need to listen to that again. Don't remember that now. It seems too long ago for me.
No, I don't think that was. He had his normal music. He had his normal one for 40. I'm sure of it.
I'll take Temple's word for it, but I don't remember it personally, as it seems a long, long while ago. Hoping that Jake Fuck 2 is okay after the scary bump. Absolutely. I think he's selling personally. That's my opinion, but apparently Triple H did say he was a bit banged up in the press conference. I'm sorry again, Nick Steve.
No, I'd heard that bit.
Hang on 1 second. Would you like to see this as the team in War Games?
Enemy is my friend storyline for Roman Reigns. Enemy is my friend storyline for Roman Reigns. Oh, yeah, I suppose, yeah, you know what they say, keep my enemies close, and keep my friends close, but my enemies close. It does work. It kind of makes sense. It's like I said before, I don't really want Kevin in that spot for the next 6 months. Like, I really want Kevin to be a world champion again, and he can't do that while being a bit part character in someone else's story. And obviously, a lot of people are waiting for Randy to face Cody, and I think a lot of people are going to suffer until this bloodline story is over, unfortunately. I mean, look, even Cody at the minute is suffering because Cody is essentially a bit part character, and he's the world champion. And I think that's that's just such a hindrance and a killer for momentum, because a lot of people are already saying that Cody's run since champion hasn't been the best, and it's because of stuff like this where he's having to play a side character in someone else's quest.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be interesting to see how it's going to go down. For me, apologies, by the way. We're at that time in the video now where the coughing kicks in, if I've been talking too much. But I do think that this is a logical way they could go with the storyline, as I say. And that's where we can start building Roman to try and get these relationships actually fixed with the people as well. Not just the people he has to team with in a War Games match, but the people perhaps maybe that actually matter to him, i.e. the original bloodline. But it could be interesting what will happen. And if that does happen, Temple actually predicts that Hikuleo will actually debut similar way Kane did to WWE back in the day. It's got to be Hikuleo ripping that door off there. It could be quite fun to see. Apparently the music was a choir on night 2. I do remember a choir. Maybe it was the same sort of melody. I can't remember. But Temple says Sami Zayn and JSU are on Raw, so I don't think they'll be involved. But the story, but he does story 2. They could beat Balor and JD for the tag titles. I think they will beat Balor and JD for the tag team titles. I think Priest could be the reason for it, and I think that could be the War Games side for the Raw side.
Yeah, it's a good chat. Very good chat.
I have to wait and see. Temple would have Jimmy Uso return on SmackDown. Then we can see the story of Roman and Jimmy getting back together. Jimmy must return at some point. I'm trying to think when's the right time for Jimmy to get involved. But as I'm saying, if I feel that Roman should build up with the people he's got to work with for the time being, I would like to see Jimmy come in afterwards. However, I can see WWE probably will bring Jimmy back soon. So you could be onto something there, Temple, of him coming back as soon as Friday. But what would you think, NXT?
First one's got to be Heyman more than anything. Heyman is the first one. Bring Heyman back, put them two back together, and then you go from there and you build it again. And you have almost have Heyman is like the middleman that kind of has to start the initial talks to bring this family back together and bring these teams together and get all these people back on Roman's side.
The wise man is wise for a reason. Wise. Yeah. So that makes sense. Yeah. It would have been nice if Paul Heyman actually have a match with one of the Bloodline. I definitely don't see that happening.
God. Him versus Jacob Fatu, Jesus.
Yeah, I don't think we need to see that, unfortunately. Poor Paul Heyman, that would not go down very well for him there. But we've caught up with all the comments bar one here of this particular topic. People were saying Randy Orton's going to turn heel turn. Possibly will. The match with Cody will happen at some point.
Yeah, but again, while they're playing bit part characters, it's not going to be a thing at the minute. Like, this was like, again, looking at it now, Cody walks out of SummerSlam as champion still. Roman seems like the most logical challenger for the title. But if you take Roman out of that equation, who else is there? Because everyone else is just against the bloodline.
Does feel that way, doesn't it? We're going to be interested to see what will happen with the WWE Championship after this, because Cody will be in Berlin against somebody. Is it too soon to do him and Roman again? I'm not so sure. We'll have to wait and see. It would be a big match for Berlin if they were to get that there. But I can see it being a later stage, if I'm being brutally honest. But Zane asking, have you heard of the new commentator Joe Tessitore?
I caught the part of the pre-show where they introduced him and stuff, and he gives off MMA vibes. Like, he looks like a guy that's done combat sports all his life. I'm sure he'll be fine. I presume McAfee's leaving Smack. No, what's he on? He's on Raw at the minute, isn't he?
On Raw, yeah, but apparently staying put despite the college football. Apparently,
No, because I think they said that Cole's going to SmackDown to take over. So unless Wade Barrett's getting dropped from SmackDown, I don't know. Or they're going to go to a 3-man team. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. I mean, maybe Cole's doing double duty and he's going to be on. Well, no, Cole won't be on both, but yeah, I just don't know. I don't really want to see Wade Barrett lose his spot unless he's going to go back to NXT and they're going to get rid of Booker T. Because honestly, no disrespect, I can't stand Booker T as a commentator. He does my brain in.
I mean, I've not heard too much of Joe, so I can't comment too much. But the clips that were going online of the other sports work he's been doing, he sounded pretty good. So I'm interested to see what he would bring to the WWE table. But I wouldn't judge before hearing him call a match.
Bring back Mauro Ranallo.
Mamma mia. When is the right time to do Roman versus Solo for the right to be called the real tribal chief? WrestleMania, in my opinion.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe they do a crazy pay-per-view next year that's based in, do you know what I mean, in somewhere in a tropical location, like on the island of like Samoa. Do you know what I mean? Somewhere like that where it's more a custom and more thing. The thing is like they need to think of something better than a Bloodline rules match. They need to think of something else, something more. I don't know, tribal chief beads on a pole match or something. I don't know.
That time of the video, I think. Especially when we get suggestions for Paul Heyman versus Haku. Anyone? Paul White, man. Let's leave Paul Heyman out of this, man. I'm a Paul Heyman guy. I need to protect Paul Heyman. Hang on. I've got a comment from Tammy. Tammy, thank you for your comment here. So there's nothing to do with SummerSlam, but do we see Jade Bianca Naomi versus Amplify Isla Dawn and Blair Davenport at some point? Tammy, I think we do.
Hopefully, I'm just glad. Like, literally, we had this conversation on the prediction show. I think, or it must have been sometime last week. You and me, and I said Blair Davenport is literally doing nothing at the minute. I'm so glad they've given her something to do on TV.
It made a lot of sense, and it's a good excuse to get Jade Bianca and Naomi back together. So they were like a badass trio at WrestleMania. They're the real like superhero kind of vibe going on as well. So I'd like to see them involved in this as the 6-woman tag team match. So yeah, I personally think Tammy, it's okay to have especially at this point in the video, nothing to do with SummerSlam, and actually think we will see that match at some point further down the line, and looking forward to it as well. Ray asking, who do you think Cody will lose the title to?
Oof. Now you think about it, this is what I mean. I don't know who. Like, I don't know. I've already guessed Punk's winning the Rumble, so that goes my guess. Who, like, if you throw in some, maybe Punk wins the Rumble when he beats Cody. Who knows?
I'll say Drew McIntyre at some point next year, because him and Punk are in different shows. Therefore, Punk won't actually interfere in Drew's business anymore, and Drew finally gets a win.
Maybe.
So yeah, that'll be the shout for it there. But yeah, hard to tell. Tammy reckons we could have had that match on the pre-show. We had a pre-show with no matches, and generally it's actually 3 hours, not 2 hours. But thankfully, didn't watch any of it because, as like you said, then that long for time, no matches. No interest for me on that one, but we could have had it in the pre-show. Would have not been against it, to be fair. And I was surprised actually to not see Bianca and Jade on the SummerSlam card. I think personally they would have been quite good, but hey, it isn't the case indeed. But let's move on into our last bits that we like to finish off each and every video with, and we're going to go a quick fire throughout some of our opinions on the show. So let's get those through. NXT Steve would like to know your thoughts. First off, your OMG moment of the night.
Oh, for as much as I'd like to pick, do you know what? I'm going to give something its props because it honestly, I thought it was the most impressive moment of the night. I'm going to say Logan Paul's perfect moonsault because honestly, was blown back by how beautiful it was. Even though there are 3 other bits that it probably could be that are better.
Absolutely, for me, it is going to have to be the kiss. It has to be the kiss, doesn't it? No, you know what?
I mean, you could have had Roman's return or Balor turning on Priest. Do you know what I mean? There's like 3 or 4 good choices at the last night.
The thing is like they're all kind of predicted, so therefore none of them were overly surprising. But as the fact that Dom and Liv, I didn't predict the kiss would happen at SummerSlam. I thought it would happen later. Yeah. For me, it will take the OMG moment, but obviously Roman's return has to be up there as well. But match of the night for you?
even though I gave Priest versus Gunther the higher rating, Drew versus Punk was the one I think was the best match of the night.
Yeah, Drew versus Punk with Seth as the referee was the best match of the night. Obviously, Seth does counter up things as well. So we have the Punk versus Drew match still fresh for later down the line. My favorite match of the night, though, actually, I think is L.A Knight versus Logan Paul. I just thought it was a really good match, even though I have a slightly lower rating for it. Yeah. Entrance of the night.
Seth freaking Rollins, because everyone was waiting for that attire to see what he was wearing.
I like it. For me, it will be Roman Reigns. I'll have to give one to Roman of those two Geo entrance. So Roman gets the entrance. However, Tiffany made a very good entrance because without that, Nia would not have won the championship. To
be fair, I did say Cody as well, just because he has Pharaoh and he has Arn and he has the skull, that stupid skull mask. So it's quite an over elaborate entrance. But yeah, I can see what you mean.
Yeah, absolutely. MVP of the night.
Seth freaking Rollins, because without him playing that role, that story does not go as well as what. Do you know, this dude is killing it this year for MVPs for me. Like, again, another one. I'm sure I gave him another 2 somewhere else during the year. I'm sure I gave him somewhere else. But for me, without him as the ref and his integral part in telling that story, that match doesn't come off as good as what it was. Because if you just have a normal referee, it doesn't work out as well. True story. For me, I'm not going to give it to a singular wrestler. I'm going to give it to the collective Judgment Day. Obviously, with the implosions, the changes, and what probably is going to be a new look Judgment Day when they're aligned probably on weekly TV, either on Raw tomorrow or in the next few weeks. I'm going to go for that. They had quite a few big moments throughout the show, and obviously multiple segments as well with Balor and Priest as well, which I think should not be ignored. Final rating out of 10 for SummerSlam 2024. I've changed my rating. I did originally give it a 9, but I think that's too high. I've dropped it down. I'm going to go 8.5.
Nice. I've gone for an 8 out of 10 for SummerSlam 2024.
I'm glad I dropped it now.
Yeah. It's for me, I think it's a very fun watch, this one. Love a lot of the storytelling involved in it. And obviously, yeah, high rating for SummerSlam 2024. Yeah. We were asked earlier in the video, is it the best one of all time? Not for me, but certainly I say top 10 for sure. Could even creep into top 5. I think it just needs a bit more time to breathe before I can actually determine where I think it'd be in the rankings.
Yeah, like I said, I think the long-term payoff and where the stories go from here and what they lead to will be, this will then tell you if this was important. Like you can go back to 97, go back to 2002, whenever, and the story, the stuff that happens afterwards kind of make them more special. So give it 2 years when the Bloodline story finishes, or whenever this Judgment Day story finishes, and we can probably judge it a bit better.
Absolutely, indeed. Let's go to a couple of final comments, and then we will wrap things up here today. Tammy saying 7.5 out of 10. Charlotte has the best moonsault, says Roger.
Nope. Logan Paul. Nope. Not want to hear it.
No. Tammy plays. New subscriber. Thank you for subscribing, Tammy. When will Tiffany cash in?
Round about Tiffy time, I believe. I honestly don't know. Like, I'm along for the ride with Tiffany, so I'm looking forward to whenever she does. Hopefully, it's successful. I think that's the most important part. After
WrestleMania, I will guess.
Ooh.
If I had to right now. If I had to guess, I think she's in it for the long term, and I think WWE have purposely got rid of the men's this year to give her a proper run.
They've just brought that briefcase out in the store. They are going to milk that for its entirety. And until the sales of that dwindle down to they're not selling any at all, that's when she'll do it.
Agreed.
And then there's no more.
Yeah, that's true. Loved Seth's entrance and what he was wearing. Gotta love it. And have we ever had Gunther versus Seth Rollins? Not to my knowledge, certainly not in WWE anyway. And I can't wait. I reckon we're going to get that probably in the near future. Looking forward to it.
Do you know what? Yeah, that does sound like an absolute killer.
Can't wait for it. We originally predicted the Rumble. Let's see when we do get it. Will we see NXT call-ups after SummerSlam? I don't see it this year, personally.
I don't know, maybe 1 or 2. Depends on what the creative is at the time. Depending on what Trick's were doing, I can see Trick possibly coming up. Like, I don't know, maybe. Watch this space.
I think Watch This Space is always a good one, but I will go on the side of no for now. But thank you all for watching. It's been great having you all involved. Thank you everyone in chat for all your great questions and comments and insight. Absolute superstars indeed. If you enjoyed the video, then please hit the like button. It really helps the video a long way, more than you can imagine. Share with a friend, subscribe as well, and thank this man to the next to me, NX Steve. Thank you for being on the video. It's been great having you on board as always.
Dude, always a pleasure. Look forward to the next one, Bash in Berlin, which is what, 4 weeks away, I believe, end of the month, isn't it? 31st or something like that. So just look forward to that one, man.
It is going to be a fun one indeed. And obviously, just say as well, get involved with our poll. SCW Rewind is live. You know the shows now that we're going to be doing for August. It's going to be either WCW New Blood Rising, WWE No Mercy 2003, or the Great American Bash 2004. So that poll is up for you now. So make sure.
3 of the worst pay-per-views in wrestling history.
We're literally offering to torture ourselves for your entertainment. So feel free to vote of which one is going to make our eyeballs the most sore. We really do appreciate it. But thank you all for watching. Look after yourselves and each other. Keep an eye on the channel as well. More videos will drop in the week as well, including what will be my predicted match card for Bash in Berlin. Take care. All the best. See you for the next video.